Welcome to episode 90 of the Thunder Underground podcast. My name is Trent, and as always, I'm joined by Jason.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey. We made it to 90.
Yes, we sure did.
Another 10 mark hit.
Yeah.
10 more to go. We hit that big 100 that makes us look like we're legit finally.
I know. Hey, we're legit anyways.
Okay. Good.
In my eyes.
Yeah. Well, number 90 is a good one because we have Johannes from Avatar.
Yes, this is going to be a great one.
Yes. We've got lots of stuff we're going to talk about as well, and we're going to get to that interview here in a bit. Well, where do we want to start?
Let's play some Machine in the Mountain.
Oh, you want to just jump right into that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. This song is called Initiate, and like Jason said, Machine in the Mountain. Initiate from Machine in the Mountain out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And speaking of Avatar, these guys opened the show that Avatar played in Tulsa last week where we recorded this interview. And as always, Machine in the Mountain put on a stellar performance.
Oh, I know they did.
Because as you could hear from that song, they're stellar musicians.
Exactly.
You know, that thing is just, I guess they're labeled as progressive metal because, they fit that vein, but they've got something for everybody,
Oh, definitely.
Like, it goes just straight up metal. It's got progressive elements. It's got even like that kind of trippy thing there towards the end.
Yeah.
It gets real fast. It grooves. It does it all.
Yeah. And, this song, Initiate, it's really good. We were just talking about, before you hit record. I like the intro. It's melodic, but it's kind of dirgy too, and then it just goes into full on, riff-tastic, badassery. And it just, I was telling you, I couldn't be in this band. I'm not that good. There's so much going on, and there's so many riffs, and there's so many, turns and twists. I don't see how they can keep up with themselves and remember it. And, that speaks to how good of musicians they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. And, you're never bored, and you're never left cold.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got melodies, they've got riffs for days. So, I mean, and this song is just a perfect example of all that.
Yeah, and the cool thing is every instrument's displayed in this song,
Yes.
kind of at some point, or at all points, kind of, if that makes sense. So
Definitely.
Yeah, this is from their brand new EP called The Architect.
Okay.
Get on Facebook, Machine in the Mountain, and hit them up. If you're not in the Tulsa area,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll send you one. It's only $5, and it's worth more than $5, I promise you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they've got 2 other EPs before this. You can find them on Reverb Nation and on Bandcamp. And, just get on there, like them, follow them, do all that stuff. Do yourself a favor and see them live, because they're one of those bands that just live, it's just a good time.
Oh, definitely.
we talk about all that. Actually, here's what you need to do. You need to go back to episode 85 of this podcast, just a few episodes ago.
That's right.
Yeah. And listen to the 4 of these guys talk about their music, because that was a good episode. We had all 4 of them on here. So go check that out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. They're playing Dixie Tavern October 15th.
That's right.
Get out to that for sure.
With Shovel Tusk.
Yes.
And Oberon.
Got a Shovel Tusk. I love that name. That's
Yeah,
badass.
that is great. So yeah, it's 2 weeks away. Do not miss that. And then we've got, what else do we got? A couple weeks ago, I saw Max and Igor Cavalera.
That's right. How was that, man?
That really, was as good as I imagined it would be.
I bet.
They played Roots in its entirety. And, I've seen Max several times since then with Soulfly, but I haven't seen Igor Cavalera live since, I guess I saw Sepultura in 96.
Yeah. That long.
Yeah. And that's just, he's always been one of my favorite drummers, but I forget to mention that when I'm talking about favorite. Every time I listen to Sepultura or, now see him, it just reaffirms why I love this guy so much. It's just because he's so unique and has such a great sound and sets himself apart from everybody. Even, that album, it's more evident than most because it's got a lot of that tribal,
Definitely,
and that, South American style beats going on and stuff that they really brought to the forefront with that. But, even on all their other stuff that he's been a part of, he always does that, So It's just, it was a joy to see. Max sounds great, and all those songs sounded badass. And Mark Rizzo, no offense to Andreas, but you close your eyes and it sounds like it.
Yeah, because that guy's a genius. He can play anything.
Yeah. Yeah, Rizzo is, one of those guys that just highly underrated, I think, in the world of metal.
So how was Radamahata?
It was great.
I bet.
Max, of course, did. I wondered if they would have that part recorded where it was the other guy singing, but he just sang it all.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
He sang it a little different, didn't sing it as heavy, but he didn't try to sound like that guy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool, because he's not going to sound like that. But yeah, the whole every song was great, It was definitely worth the drive to Oklahoma City.
Nice.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what? Then we saw Ghost.
Yeah, I think Ghost is next.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah. They came to the Brady Theater in Tulsa. And both of us, this was the second time we'd seen them.
Yes.
We saw them in Dallas about 3 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2-3 years ago.
And they played the House of Blues,
Okay.
which is a great setting for a band like Ghost, especially.
Mm-hmm.
I think you always want to see them in a theater type setting.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as opposed to, like, I know they played Diamond Ballroom earlier this year, and I'm sure it's great because it's Ghost, but I just can't imagine it's anywhere near as good as in a place like the Brady.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm sure these guys started out in clubs, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And whatever, that's cool. And arenas would be too big. But Brady was just a perfect size venue for a band like this and the kind of show they put on.
Yeah. Yeah, and this was actually probably the first time you really seen him.
Yes, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Last time we saw him in Dallas, I got a little too drunk skis. Yeah. So that was a little foggy, and I made sure to stay sober on this one, and it lived up to everything. It was just amazing. I mean, I don't know where to start.
Well, they opened the show with their new song Square Hammer.
Yes, which in
my opinion, you know, it's not even as heavy as a lot of their stuff, but it's one of their best songs ever.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's just it's got a cool riff and it's catchy as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't deny that chorus, you can't deny that hook at all.
Yeah. Yeah, they get that new EP out, and I think that's the only new song. But everything on that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Because it's all diverse kind of.
Yep. Pope Star.
Yeah. They played a good mix of stuff from the 3 albums. And, you know, you can't really complain about anything. You know, I think Elizabeth's probably my favorite Ghost song. I didn't play it, so I guess I can complain about that. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and they really, just like you said, they did a great mix. I mean, every album was represented. You know, there was... They didn't seem to lean heavy on one album or the other, across the 3. And, you know, for as, you know, their theme is, you know, evil, satanic, this and that and whatever. For as much as that is, they really do put on an uplifting show.
Yeah.
And, I think that's an interesting thing to throw in there. And, you know, you've got the confetti cannons and, you know, Absolution just kind of brings it to a peak, you know, with the whole, you know, double guitar, solo-y classic rock. I don't know. It's just, it was just a really positive thing in a way. It was, you know, it was crazy.
Yeah. And they span it all, you know, stuff like He Is and then Mummy Dust, you know, from the light to the heavy as hell.
Yeah. I mean, exactly.
And, you know, he interacts with the crowd, and it's not like, you know, whenever you think of, if you've never seen Ghost, what you think it might be, it's not really that way. Because, like you said, it's kind of uplifting, and, like, he interacts with the crowd and does jokes about normal shit. Yeah. So it's not like...
It's not all...
He's still in character, but he's not...
Yeah, it's not like a doom and gloom kind of thing. And,
yeah.
And I have to... I kind of have to refer to an interview I saw with one of the nameless ghouls. You know, the day, you know, before the concert, I was just, you know, looking stuff up as I always do. And that was, you know, their thing is like, you know, these are our themes, but at the same time, we want to do it kind of tongue in cheek. And we also want to be, you know, we want it to be a happy experience.
Yeah. And
that's really what they deliver. I mean, you don't think you're going to, you know, I don't know, you don't think you're going to a black mass or something. It's everyone's happy and everyone's screaming, and it's just the way, it's a unique way they've brought those two themes together. And I don't know, it's different and it's smart.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything, they've got a show that's planned out. You know, they've got the look and they've got everything blocked out. I mean, it's very put together and it's very smart.
Yeah. And they even have the kind of chamber, what kind of music would you call it, that played before the show for like 10 minutes?
Oh, yeah. Like it was kind of the
like
Gregorian chant, kind of that kind of thing for like 10 minutes. Yeah.
And then they had the stage crew, the roadies, were dressed in not the same thing as the Nameless Ghouls, but they had on black with like red things, right?
Yeah.
They were themed as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And they even kind of like stopped and walked and...
Yeah, they like bowed to each other.
Yeah, that's what it was, right?
They took the curtains off of the keyboards and the drums and folded them up real proper and stuff like that while the fog was going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they're just they're another one of those kind of polarizing bands where a lot of people don't like them. But I think the people that don't like them a lot of times are just, putting too much into, thinking it's something that's not, like you said, it's tongue in cheek. It's not meant to be like, this is a serious metal band. Yeah. They're not a metal band anyway.
Yeah, they're just a rock band.
Yeah.
And also you got to think, people you could put this in a movie and people will watch it all day long.
Yeah.
But once you put it in music, everyone starts getting all butthurt about, they're worshiping Satan and all this stuff. Shut the fuck up. Seriously. It's just, it's entertainment. They know they're entertainment. They've even said we're an entertainment group. And,
guess what? It worked for Tom Araya. It worked for Marilyn Manson. Neither one of them are Satanists.
That's right. And it's working for Ghost.
Yeah.
And also what I wanted to point out was, I've noticed in the past, it's in the early shows, because you can look tons of stuff up on YouTube, as everybody knows. It was kind of somber at some points, but now I think because they've kind of changed their outfits and their uniforms around, they can move around better. And I think the interaction's better. And, it seems more natural, cause, and Papa Emeritus, Tobias Forge, whoever it is a really good frontman. And when the whole cloak and the hat comes off, he can be more of, he can, he can relate to people better.
Right.
And I think the band, if they don't have these robes on, they can move around better. And I could tell, cause I got up pretty close, even though they had masks and things covering their neck and stuff, you could see their mouths moving with the words, you could see, and they were getting into it and, headbanging and all this stuff. And it was just, way more of an upbeat thing than I've seen on YouTube. So, I mean, if they come near you, go. I mean, you will have a fucking blast. And you don't need to drink anything or take anything, because Ghost has it all for you.
Right? Well, a few days before that, I went out to Billy and Renee's.
That's right.
For Fist of Rage and Crane Technique.
Okay.
And this was another great show. We've talked about both these bands a few times. We've had both of them on the podcast.
Yes.
So if you go back, there's full episodes with full bands. Both those bands we had every member on. Both of them have great people in their band, and of course great musicians, and two totally different styles of bands.
Yeah.
But it worked fine, because when you go to a show, you just want to see someone kick ass, and that's what both these bands do.
Yep. Hey, it's all rock, it's all heavy, so it's all good.
Yeah, and Fist of Rage, they, you forget, how big of a fan base these guys have in this town and just everywhere,
Yeah.
People walking, half that bar had on Fist of Rage shirts.
That's great.
And that's great. And, they've kind of even more, every time you wonder what Andy's going to do. This time he had on a dress and a wig, he was just a woman, I guess.
Okay.
And,
okay.
And Josh had on a mask. I'm trying to remember if it was... No, I don't think it was a character or anything, but it was like a skull-type mask thing. And, Paulette had on her pentagram shirt looking good.
Nice.
And the music above all,
You can never go wrong with pentagrams.
Yeah, that's true. But, yeah, it's just a fun show, a fun band. They really get into it. They're all great musicians, and they love what they do, and you can tell it.
Yeah.
And, they talked about in that podcast we did with them, how they went through like 40 drummers. Not literally 40, but,
Damn near.
Yeah, an insane amount.
Yeah.
And from what I can see since the time we've known him and the last few shows we've seen, I really feel like Josh is kind of here.
Yeah.
And he's part of this band now.
That's
good to see. This is a solid lineup, and I love it. Can't wait to see him again. And I'm sure we will soon. And they're actually playing that thing we haven't even mentioned that thing in Harrison, Arkansas.
That's right.
We'll have to look that up and mention all the bands, but
yeah.
I know they're playing it. It's October 22nd. Devil You Adore is playing it. There's like 10 bands on it. I think Death Grip.
Yep.
Is Driver, maybe?
I know Screaming Red Mutiny is.
Oh, nice.
We'll have to look it up and get the full thing going.
Right. Well, and then after them, Crane Technique played.
Yeah.
And out of Joplin, they're another band you've got to see. You got to look them up, listen to their music. We've championed them several times here because they deserve to be championed.
Yes, they do.
During this show, you missed. Steve played a full-on rendition of Anesthesia.
Really?
Pulling Teeth, and nailed it.
Damn it.
As you would expect he would, because he's a damn good bassist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that I missed that. You saved that, didn't you? You didn't tell me that at first.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
But yeah, I talked to him about it afterwards, and he said that, he'd been practicing for a while and figured he'd just throw it in a set because they were doing a little longer set than they had been. So
oh, yeah, why not?
So, yeah, and it sounded great. And, all four of them guys, are just exceptional at what they do. And, we've talked about it several times with Dennis that it's just crazy to think this guy's just got power to his voice. He's got a stage presence and everything. And he's only been doing this for less than 2 years now.
Yeah, that tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah. And, Micah up there's a thing I thought about when I was watching him that we talked about with Reed Mullen from COC.
Yeah.
He's playing a kit, that's like minimal as hell.
Yeah.
And he's in a band, the type of band that you don't ever see drummers playing kits like that, Usually there's way more to it, and that tells you a lot there.
And he sounds like he's got like 5 hands and 5 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said before, that's how you know the motherfucker's real.
Yeah.
You can do so much more with less. That means you're badass. And we know that.
Yep. And Garrett, brings that sound all together with his riffs, and he has a stage presence, and he just total metal, and that's what I love about these guys,
Yeah. Well, I hate that I missed it.
Yeah. Well, they are coming back to Tulsa on December 9th. This thing has just got announced, actually. It's another DMG Productions at the Shrine. DMG Productions event at the Shrine, and it's got Death Grip out of Dallas.
That's going to be badass.
With our buddy Scott Bond, who's been on here before.
Okay.
Look that up. And they've also got Driver, who you've heard us talk about several times. And then, of course, Crane Technique and Reliance Code.
Oh, man.
So we finally get to see Reliance Code. We've played a couple of their songs, talked about them, and we haven't had them on here yet, but that's coming down the line. And then Chris mentioned that Devil You Adore may be on this bill.
Really?
He said go ahead and throw it out there. He thinks it'll happen. If it doesn't,
nice.
We'll retract this next week.
Yeah, well, that's one we have to be at.
Yeah, we will.
And I will be at that.
That's actually that Friday night, and then Saturday, the next day, is that hair metal Christmas thing.
Okay.
In Dallas.
God damn, we're going to be busy.
Yeah. It's like Kicks and King's X and Slaughter and several other Lynch Mob. So it's a killer lineup there.
Yep. We got to go to that.
Yeah. Well, what else do we got to go to? This weekend, we're going to Slayer, Anthrax, and Death Angel.
Yep.
So we're really looking forward to that. Our buddies Kevin Graham, Rachel Graham, Jason Carroll, Jennifer Carroll, they're all going.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a few other people I know. I've seen them on Facebook posting that they're going, so I'm sure we'll have a big group of people we know out there.
Get your moshing shoes on for that one.
That's thrash at its finest.
Yeah, I mean, this is not for the faint of heart.
No, I mean, fucking Death Angel.
Yeah.
Just on their own.
DA, baby.
Yeah, just on their own, those guys are worth traveling for.
Yeah.
Okay? And they're going to probably play in a 30, 40-minute set.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is when shit hits the fan because... one of my favorite bands, one of your favorite bands too of all time is Anthrax.
One of everybody's favorite bands.
Well,
if it's not one of your favorite bands, turn this fucking podcast off right now.
Right.
Okay, don't do that. second thought, but you know what
there
I mean.
There are people that don't like it. And of course, Slayer. There's not much to say there. We know what's going to happen.
It's going to be a fucking barn burner of a show.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that here probably on the next episode.
Yeah.
Well, the point of this episode, the main point, is Avatar.
Yes.
And we got this discussion in, and I think it went pretty good.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to talk to him and talk about, some other stuff that we had with other guys, and you got to ask the question about Swedish bands, which we've long wondered ourselves.
Yes, and we got a great answer.
Yeah. It wasn't a blow-off question. It was a real answer. I love it.
Yeah, even though I did it in a stupid way.
No, it was good.
Okay, well, okay. I'll take it.
I think he liked that it wasn't, all like formal and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But man, these guys live are just, if you've never seen Avatar live, I know that just like you talk about Ghost, there's some metal elitists out there that don't like the fact when, people do something different.
Yeah.
People don't like Ghost or Slipknot or Mudvayne or whatever. But, Avatar has a theme, but at the end of it all, the music is what matters.
That's right.
So if you can't get past that, I feel sorry for you, because these guys live are just unbelievable.
Well, and that's the thing is, you can't just say, oh, they have makeup or they have a gimmick or whatever. No, because their music is fucking insane and it backs it up.
Yeah.
So it validates everything else they're doing. It really does.
Yeah, that show at the Shrine is one of the smaller shows they've done in a long time, I think, because they, when they come, they're a lot bigger in Europe, I think, but even when they come to America, they're playing festivals.
Yeah.
And they did a few off dates, but I noticed the ones that they did outside of Tulsa were even bigger clubs.
Okay.
And the Shrine, I don't know what the capacity is, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And, of course, they had it packed full, and that's one of the best club shows I've seen in a long time. And they, you just felt like you were seeing something special.
Yeah.
Because, I think you were. And
you might not ever see it again.
Yeah.
Because it might get big, and next time they come to the Brady or something or whatever,
Yeah.
The Canes.
Yeah, they had their full stage show shoved onto that little stage, like the huge Avatar light thing behind.
That's great.
Behind John on the drum kit, and the drum kit was way high, covering half of that thing. And they were all kind of crammed on that stage, but they pulled it off, and it's just a testament to what we've said other times on this podcast about any band from Sweden or the Scandinavia area, Denmark, Finland, whatever. If they come from there's a great chance that they're going to be amazing.
Yep.
Not a great chance, probably a 99% chance.
And look what happens. Yeah. They fucking rule.
Yeah, we just talked about Evergrave's newest album recently.
Yes.
Everything Soilwork puts out, melts my heart with joy.
And even the
list
stuff
goes on.
Yeah, even the stuff like Backyard Babies and Michael Monroe.
Yeah.
In a different kind of vibe.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and also I wanna kind of say something that kind of speaks to the art and the joy of being a fan is like, I didn't go to this show. I didn't go to the, Fist of Rage Crane Technique thing. My work has been crazy. I've had to go in really early, all this stuff. So I didn't get to go and all this whatever. And you said our friend Christy Gross drove 2.5 hours for this show.
Yeah.
And had to drive back. And had to be at work at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So that makes me look like a huge puss.
Right.
And so kudos to her. And that's what this kind of music is about. Dedication like that, fans like that. We need more people like that so this stuff can just keep going. And I don't think, you won't find, you won't find 50 Cent fans or, fucking
Sam Hunt fans drive.
Sam Hunt fans or Thrice fans do that shit. Hey, it's only in hard rock and only in metal.
You just threw out Thrice, and Christy Gross drove to see Thrice the other day.
Really? Did you really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a dick, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so I just think that was totally killer, and I like to hear things like that. And that makes me, that's why I like to do this instead of, playing out like I used to do and being in a band myself. I think there's a lot, it's really cool just to be a fan. And there's a lot that goes into it that, you know, I don't know. I think there's just more to it than, I like Metallica.
Well, what you just talked about, I've got a story that I hadn't told you yet.
Nice.
I actually completely forgot until this moment. And it's thanks to Christy Gross. She introduced me to this girl after the concert.
Yeah.
I forgot her name, sadly. But I wouldn't know her last name anyway to call her out. But this girl came from Mexico.
Oh, that's right.
For this show.
I mean, that's
to a club show in Tulsa.
Yeah. I mean,
for an hour and a half show.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. I mean,
like literally she came from Mexico just for this show.
Yeah.
Like she had family that lived in Oklahoma City. She flew in, saw them, drove to Tulsa, drove back to Oklahoma City, and flew back to Mexico the next day.
That's insane. You know, and that's, you know, I don't know, Avatar should, and I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they do feel so honored.
Oh, yeah.
For that kind of dedication. That's, you know, like I said, you know, you're not going to get that at a Coldplay show. Sorry. Right. I mean, that's a testament to just how badass our kind of music is.
Definitely. Well, should we get into this right now?
Yeah. I think we've just babbled on too much. Let's do it.
Do you want to throw in any puns? Like, ladies and gentlemen, the podcast has returned again?
I'll let you do that. You're the pun guy.
Okay. It smells like a podcast show. I don't know.
There you go.
That just went off the rails. All right.
Hail the podcast.
There you go.
I just did it.
All right. Here we go. Johannes from Avatar. Something like Feathers and Flesh with the story and everything. Was that something that was in one of your guys' head for a while and that you wanted to put down, or is it something you guys came up with in the writing process of the album?
Yeah, with the running process. The thing, what it was to begin with was just like, okay, what's the next thing for us to do? Because it's all about for us to not repeat ourselves. You know, find a new way always of making an album hard to make.
Yeah.
Because you know you want some fire up your ass. So it came from there, and just the general ambition, like the very superficial, vain thing of like, hey, I would like to be one of those guys who did a concept album. And then basically like, so, okay, let's do that. Do you know how to make one? No. Cool. Even better, you know? And then it was about a journey of figuring things out along the way with it and finding the story that we wanted to tell that would span more than one song. So that is where it came from, essentially, yeah.
So was it a bigger undertaking than you imagined? Is it something you think you'd do again in the future?
Well, it became the part that made it bigger. Actually, one thing is, of course, like that you have a more clear the way we have done, and I would guess most bands have made songs, albums. If they don't make something conceptual, is you make the greatest hits of those 3 months you had the time to do that, and therefore, you can come with a riff and like, hey, yeah, that's perfect. I don't know, song when you're out driving. So I make lyrics about I'm out driving, and and that's it. But then suddenly, now you have a song about. Now you have this idea that it's all going to be about bicycles, and then you have to look for the music that you are writing. That's the bicycle song, And in the case of ours, the album with the fables and everything, it's like, okay, so we need something for the owl being stuck in the lake underwater together with this pike that's trying to hold her there, So we need that depressive pike song, and so it was still people wrote, and we all did kind of try to make the best songs we could make. But then this process of selection was more based on, okay, that piece there, that thing you did there, instead of saying, oh, that's the best thing you did, it's more like, oh, that's the most suitable thing you have done, so we need now to make that part great. So we locked in on fewer songs earlier in that sense, I believe. And then the huge undertaking is that because it's a concept album, because it's contain more songs and everything, it was just and that we always raise the bar, like, oh, we want to use a choir of voices that isn't our own only, like female voices there and everything, and then suddenly, figuring out how to record that any time and finding the choir and being a cheap asshole about it because it's 2000s, it's not the 80s.
Yeah.
What can you do? So and that whole figuring that all out made it very hard. I think all in all, it was a 6-week process, and there was a Christmas break inside of that, where everything as far as recording goes happened, so, and that was a short time for what we had in mind. So we were all really, our brains were fried at the end of it, really.
The record's just like fearless, and you guys, that's kind of you guys that sound like Toothpick and Claw's got like a surf thing going on. I mean, it's just, where do you come up with that? And do you go, oh, that's too crazy, or you just don't care,
Yeah, no, nothing has ever felt too crazy.
That's awesome.
It's more like, if anything, sometimes things can feel too, plain.
Okay.
Honestly, and then this is like amazing songs that sound like songs we have heard. Oh, I love this, but fucking Pantera, man. Okay, moving on. And this is a way that we did, is just figuring out. I think just to create kick-ass metal, you need those great riffs, but the second half of it is to figure out that particular groove that needs to go with it, the drum beat, and make that groovy. And also there you find a lot of the uniqueness in different bands, in those bands who are truly unique. And in our case, that means always play around, experiment a lot with the drums along the way. Hey, sweet guitar lick, man, and now what do we do with it? I mean, that's the secret. The reason Iron Man is the greatest song ever is in the drums, because if it would have been it would have been an awful song, But now, because of what Bill Ward is doing there, and that goes for us also with fast songs, slow songs, doesn't matter. You need to figure out those drums to go alongside the riff, because the riff without the groove is nothing. And this was just one of those things where the talks, because it was really that was one of the songs that we figure out in the studio way more than others. We were 80% knew what we were going to do on every song, and there were 20% of stuff where we left it more open, because mainly because you have to allow yourself to let things happen in the studio anyway, and some things just weren't good enough when we hit deadline. So you bring those things into the studio, and in the talks, I don't remember if it was for that song or another one, but I started talking about that. There's something about surf drums and rockabilly and that whole let's twist again, boom, da da da. But then we kind of moved on to a billion different ideas, and then John at some point, then a bit later that day, so hey, wait a minute, by the way, da 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 to that riff, and suddenly went from, because the riff in itself has a melodic language to me, and of course the way it's played makes me think about Amon Amarth, and has that it becomes this big bulldozer thing, but still very melodic. So then, I mean, if you just keep the straight double bass drum on it and all that, it didn't really, it was one of those, it's just good, it's fucking Amon Amarth, man. But it's but it's still good. It's not purely, it's not a Viking thing going on here. What can we do to not feel like that, It's good. How do we elevate it to something that turns into one of our own things, and having fun with crossing over into different genres, making things that are typically considered heavy, and the other way around, all this just playing with, put things in the dark that were in the dark into light, and the other way around, and it just spurred out of that. But again, no idea has up until this point felt too crazy. I think it feels more like us learning through the years now to try to become more and more crazy with things, that I think that is the journey we're making.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, it's ironic to me, we're doing pretty well on American radio. I personally, I don't listen much to radio,
Yeah, neither do I.
So, and it's just, and when I do, and when I hear, the songs before and after our song, and I always feel how did we get into this? How did it let us in? I don't mind it, It's another channel for us because we don't talk radio in the studio, we don't. and that helps us a lot, I think, to just keep it pure. But then, you know, you listen, there are in 10 songs you hear the same 4 chords and the same, I don't know, everybody samples those kids going whoa, oh, hey, oh, or something, you know, and it's a kind of hip-hoppy beat to it, which I don't mind at all, but it's just like, wait, it's been 20 years, come on, people, you know.
That's true. Well, I mean, that you guys can do that and pull it off is great, because, you know, sometimes a band might try to do something different and it just falls flat, so you guys have that cornered, and you're in the radio, so that's just awesome.
Yeah. Trying to save America one station at a time.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
What about, like, when you map this out, you know, if it's telling a story, and then you get on stage live in a headline show, the songs are all mixed up. Is that something that doesn't bother you? Or is
actually, that was also the challenge, because once you start to delve into, you know, that you have this fable, this story that is this very much its own thing, and it's way more tragic than maybe Avatar as a whole is being seen as. You know, because we are kind of fun, and our shows are pretty fun, you know, and therefore, but now we wrote a pure tragedy, and the challenge was then, like, now, okay, we could just go out there and do the album, you know, in theory, I think, but, you know, people still, I think, want to hear Smells Like a Freak Show, no matter what we like to believe. And also but that is that Avatar then. No, but Avatar should be all of these things together, you know, so this was about integrating them. But, you know, it becomes, anyway, we are always working on trying to figure out more and more how to Michael Jacksonify our shows, in the sense, like, you're really making every song its own showpiece, if we can. And in that way, we can go on this emotional roller coaster live. But yeah, it was just about finding a way to just have what we are doing now make sense with what we have been. And that is Avatar. Avatar is a past, the present, and the future thing, you know. And the here and now is part of that bigger scheme.
Well, speaking of live, like a few years ago, you guys were opening for Dark Tranquility. And then more recently, you've opened for Avenged Sevenfold, Five Finger Death Punch. There's not many bands that could do both those things. Like, is that something you guys strive for, being able to reach across both ways like that? Or
I think our problem is that now, especially since Black Waltz, is that we're not really don't know who would be the perfect band to open for, you know. I don't feel like when we grew up, you know, we were very much into the melodic death metal scene of Gothenburg. We were very much, still are, you know, of course, but, you know, we're very much into, you know, the more technical, brutal death metal stuff. Always been huge Cryptopsy fans in the band and stuff like that. And that's kind of where we came from. So, of course, in the early days, it's easier to see, like, oh, yeah, you're like At the Gates Junior, you know. But when we were, you know, in the late teens and all that, when the first stuff came out. But then, you know, you start to grow into your own things. And once we did that, it's like, okay, so who do we tour with, you know? What is Avatar? We don't know the answer to this. Many people seem to like Avatar, but it's hard to put that label for fans of.
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea. You know, like, I don't know. So I think that is more like the reason that we have worked in so many different contexts is maybe because we work in none of them. Because we also like went to tour and opened for Helloween.
Oh, wow.
And that's a completely different beast, of course, you know. And that was my favorite because that is the band that made me stop cutting my hair. And we got to tour, you know, with them and sip on tea and come and say, oh, I like your song, Roadkill was from our third album. Like, oh, it could be a hit in America. Oh, thank you. Wait a minute. I wrote that song. Who said what? He wrote Eagle Fly Free, and he's so that was an amazing tour to make.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's great.
And they were, you know, cool, funny, generous, great people. And you know, people say don't meet your heroes, but if they're in a German metal band, you should be safe. You know, amazing. Amazing.
Well, do you find fans like of one extreme or the other? Like if someone like Dark Tranquility, do you find fans like being less open to a diverse sound? Or
no.
Every time you guys have opened for anyone, has it always been a good reaction?
Yeah, honestly it has, you know, and better with the years. And I try to remember when exactly we were with Dark Tranquility was still like I feel like we really grow into the avatar that we feel we found ourselves, and therefore more our audience a bit after that.
Right.
Purely artistically, so, but still, it went well already back then, and now maybe it's just like, I feel like we are, and this can so easily sound like complaining, so you're like, don't get me wrong, like, but it's just, I see that we are, especially in the States, we are hitting it off in an amazing way that also, puts us like not so much underground culturally, so like, while we're, warming up, listening to Suffocation and being the metalheads we are, and then we come out and we, and people sometimes have, butt rock t-shirts on our shows, and it's like, more power to you. You can like whatever you want.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it, And if when I listen to my album, I didn't expect it. Raven Wine. That's. Yeah, I don't want to mention names. I don't want to be an asshole like that. It's just nice for you journalists, but but I don't want to mention names. But I'm like, okay, fair enough. I don't know how we did that, but Nile also exists.
Yeah.
But it started, we can see that fans come from different ways. If they can come from radio, certain tours we made, and they stuck around with us, and then word of mouth metal people, and that is when the open t-shirts come to our show, and stuff like that, or death and like that, and I feel like when I went to concerts young, still today, of course, but growing up in the metal world, I was more that dude, I feel. So it's interesting just to see now that we have some weird mass appeal by making a huge effort in making sure that we are not pleasing anyone except for ourselves.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah, it seems to be. It's like the best commercial move we ever made was to say, fuck the world. And it's been working for us this far.
Yeah.
And it's also like, if we fail miserably, I prefer to fail miserably doing something that was like, I love this.
Yeah.
Because if we do a really shit album in your eyes, you can just, okay, I'm not going to listen to this again, and put on the next one, and move on with life. But I will sit there with this album that nobody liked except for me, but at least I liked it,
Yeah.
So that is our reasoning there, is you have to keep it, to do it for yourself.
Yeah. Well, talk about what's in the water up in Sweden, where like every band is just badass, awesome. That sounds like I'm putting it in a corny way. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but
but
it's a question that comes quite a bit, and I think it's a kind of complex thing, and there are many factors. Like, if I look into myself,
mm-hmm.
there is like some things that help was like there's this. In every town has this city-run like music school as an after-school activity. Like, it's not part of the curriculum of your normal school. Like, but it's a place that if you want, you can go and like, when you join the junior soccer team, that kind of thing. Each municipality, that word, municipal town, municipality, right? Yeah. Has this music school, and when you're a kid, you get to, they show up at your school one evening, and all the kids get to go there and try to play a trumpet, try to play the drums a bit. If in third grade or something, I think it's the first time they do it for you. So like, you're in second grade, 8 years old, and you go there, you get to try all these instruments, and then if you find something to your liking, you very cheaply get lessons in that instrument. And for the first year, you get to borrow that instrument for free. And after the second year, you get to, through the music school and through, all these, welfare programs that is, that reaches way more people overall in a country like Sweden. It also stays cheap. So lots of kids get opportunities to play something. That is how, we have a flute player, 2 clarinets, and me being a trombone player in the band because of those that first thing we did as kids.
Yeah.
And I kept playing trombone until I graduated high school, or taking lessons in it, and was in a big band. And so that first thing, that you get a taste for music, you get to try music in a very real way early on. So that's one piece of the puzzle. And that also happened to be where we all met. Because then 3 years, you just hang out in a music school with your clarinets and trombones, but you have also discovered Iron Maiden, and your hair has started to reach down below your ears, and you see the other guy with a Metallica t-shirt, and that also starts to play drums aside of the flute, and you, the clarinet player, also play the piano, and just started to play guitars, because Maiden. And you meet those people there, and that is John and Jonas. That is, how they, through the music school, and actually tennis classes as well, they got to know each other and formed a band. And first time I saw John ever was, in the music school there. And so there's a little, it gives an opportunity to connect kids like that in a very kind of like semi-academic way. Yeah. We get to learn the stuff. Then it's fairly easy to find some place to rehearse, like again through the study circles or whatever you would call it. Like again, like you can start an interest group, like the hobby group basically, and if you do it in an organized way with meetings and someone doing the accountancy and stuff, you can get some money from the state from basically whatever. And that is, then that grows into that it's, again, affordable for the teenagers to have a rehearse room far away from dad's garage, so it doesn't matter what he thinks about it, and plus then youth centers and places to go and play and stuff. So, it's, so that there you have the whole state, the whole socialized answer to it. Then there's some other things. It's like other musicians talk about. I saw a documentary about Swedish metal just recently. It's like, well, it's so boring here. We don't have, it's pitch black darkness half of the year. So if you want to make something, you have to do it yourself, So that self-made thing, like that, like if you want something fun to happen, you have to create the fun. Yeah. It's not the beaches of California, or whatever. And so that's part of it. And then in our case, like, you started to see also around you that, because we from the West Coast, right outside of Gothenburg, John grew up in basically the same street as, guitar player Hammerfall. And, you got In Flames, you got Dark Tranquility, you got all these examples. And if you look at all of Sweden, it becomes ridiculous that so many small towns have these bands that have had certain success all around the world, like the Hives. They are from fucking Fagersta. Ever heard of Fagersta? No, neither had I. Then I heard the Hives. It's a small town, and so many towns have that in Sweden. So you see, like, he could make it, so I can make it. So it's accessible like that as well. So that helps. And outside of that, I don't know. Like, again, my story is, I got to play some trombone, and my brother showed me German power metal, and then another dude showed me death metal, and then I had already taken music lessons, so it's just... And there were 4 other guys that were like that in their own kind of way, and we met, and then we started to play together, So and we found a place to rehearse, and then there were places to do our shows for our friends, and and also like to try to be an entrepreneur, because what they would do is like, okay, I can have a show here. So you need to make posters, you need to put the posters up, you need to tell your friends, you need to sell tickets, you need to learn all these things, So it's kind of breeding ground then from that, then grow into that people start to become like more business minded about it. Those that have an inclination to go further with it. Also kind of like taught, took you on as 15, 16-year-olds in the beginning there, like, okay, I have a project. We're not going to do it for you. We provide the place and stuff, but you need to do this, and we learned.
So you think you'll ever incorporate trombone into a song?
We did.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah, on Hail the Apocalypse, I played the solo on Puppet Show.
Oh, okay. That makes sense now. Yeah.
That's me. Also did live for one tour over here. And we're going to do it again, I'm sure, at some point.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it was
fun. Yeah.
I was blah blahing away. I realized. I don't know how many questions we want.
There you go, Johannes from Avatar. Quite an honor to sit down with him for 20, 25 minutes, talk about some different stuff. Thank you to him for taking the time to do that. Thank you to Bill from E1 for setting that up. Thank you to Adam, their tour manager, for the help. Thank you to Eric Smith, from Vit's Screen Printing for
definitely,
promoting the show and putting that on. And, he helped us out there a little bit too. And always great to see him. And if you need t-shirts made, hit him up.
Yes, definitely hit him up.
He's who made our t-shirts.
Yeah. And like I said, or like you said, I mean, he kind of helped us in the right direction when we got there.
Yeah.
And, thanks to Johannes. I mean, he was very engaging, really nice guy. And, he just had a lot of really cool stuff to say, and it was really, really good, just kind of soaking it all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one for sure.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out that I felt kind of dumb after I asked that trombone question, because I told you I listened to Puppet Show while I was driving to the show. But it's just one of those things I think you don't think about it when you're not like engaged in it, thinking, oh, that might be a trombone. It's just thinking, oh, that sounds cool.
There's a horn, you know, and we've got our questions and we stick to them, and so it's all good.
Right.
And he didn't seem to mind at all.
Right. Well, if you haven't heard Feathers and Flesh, get it.
Yes.
It's got some great stuff. It's something, kind of like we said about Machine and Mountain, a little something for everybody.
Yeah.
They've got sounds that, span all different kind of, metal genres. I think.
They're like a gritty power metal band.
Yeah.
Kind of a power metal band if they're a little dirty.
Well, like you mentioned, if power metal ran into System of a Down.
Yes. I hate kind of doing for fans of things, but there you go. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And he kind of touched on that himself in the interview too, the whole, radio and for fans of and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a good point.
Yeah. And, because when that album starts, that first song, sounds like power metal.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, this sounds like Sonata Arctica, or something. And then he starts singing, and of course it's different than Sonata Arctica, but it still has that feel with the guitars and everything.
Yeah.
But just as the album progresses, it goes through all that different stuff, and then it gets to Night Never Ending, which is all uplifting, and then, just a great album. It's one of those, you might be hearing us talking about it. You should be hearing us talking about it probably at the end of the year again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
From the best of episode of that. But yeah, once again, thanks to him and thanks to E1 Music and everybody. Thank you for listening. We're at thethunderunderground.com. Got all our previous podcasts up there. You can find reviews of major artists, independent artists, all that stuff. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope. YouTube, we've got a couple Metallica reaction videos for both the new singles.
Yes, go check those out.
thethunderunderground@gmail.com. You can email us any opinions or thoughts or whatever. And, of course, if you're a band and you have music you want to send us, shoot it over. Or you want us to play your music or listen to your music or whatever, send it our way. If you want to buy t-shirts, email us there. We've also got koozies. And, like I said, 89 previous podcasts. We've had on guys from Nonpoint, Drowning Pool, Soil,
Overkill, Crowbar, Miss May I,
Murder FM,
Murder FM, COC,
Megadeth,
Act of Defiance. I mean, we've had Ian Moore and Shooter Jennings.
We've had some 80s rock guys, Great White, Trickster, Warrant, Europe.
Go check all those out.
Yeah. Just a long list, 89 episodes.
That's right.
So you're going to find something you like, I promise.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And like we mentioned earlier, Fist of Rage, Crane Technique, Machine in the Mountain. They've all been on here. And some of the other bands we talked about with shows coming up, like W Adore and Driver, whatnot, they're all on here as well.
Definitely.
And hopefully next week you'll hear something cool as well.
Yes. Think you will.
Yeah.
But we're not going to say shit right now. We're going to keep you in the dark for right now.
Definitely. Well, all right. Is that it?
That's it. See ya.
Till next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.